I had a judge try that with me once too. It's like, this is a time where I'm going to talk. And I just had to explain it out to him, like, if he says things on the record and I stand silent, it's considered like I'm just okay with it, and I'm not. That's the point of objection, point of clarification, is to clarify what he just said so I can understand it before he asks me to answer it. I just had to walk him through it.
Yeah, it is considered lazy and a dereliction on your part if there's something that's incorrect that you let stand.
Right. Oh, even better. Even more powerful, yeah.
In fact, because you don't have representation, it is your job. It is your only job.
Oh, yeah, especially because you don't have representation.
Mm-hmm. Right. There's nobody else's whose job it is to make sure that things are correct in your behalf, in your favor.
This is one of the most effective and commonly used tactics I hear for judges just in talking about every recording I've ever heard, is this whole, no, you had your turn to talk, now it's my turn to talk, and this is what it's going to be, and then they go ramble off a bunch of stuff and commit the quote-unquote defendant.
Yeah, like letting you ask some questions entitles them to make some fallacies.
Right.
It's like, okay, you made 3 questions, now I'm going to introduce 3 fallacies, and you're just going to listen to, this first, second, and third. It's like, well, I object to the first point. The fact that you went rambling on past it. Every one of them lawyers, and every one of them judges that goes on about not being interrupted is horrible about interrupting you.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a given. They don't respect the same, for sure.
They are absolutely insane on that point.
Total hypocrite. Complete when it comes to
and they'll talk for 5 minutes straight without a breath.
Yep.
If you're one to, if they're introducing a bunch of objectionable stuff.
Yeah. So this is totally valid point, like that Gary's making. It points to our safety. Like the last hearing I counted, the judge interrupted me 20 times. I interrupted him 5, and toward the end of the hearing, when he was trying to shove me through, that's when he mentioned the word contempt and for interrupting in the same sentence, which is where I brought everything to a screaming halt with 2 loud sentences of, are you threatening me with violence? Did you just threaten me with contempt? Just to put a big old pointer finger on it, because that's one step in the direction of, getting arrested. Fuck that.
They just, deluge you with logical fallacies, figuring, well, you can't get them all,
This thing, whatever, this public, whatever, right, exposure, they don't know what to do with it. And I didn't realize that, these things have an effect on these people, and I'm starting to see that just maybe it does. It really does.
Yeah.
We do fail to appreciate that while we talk about this not being, reasoned and rational, we fail to appreciate that what it is political. That judges are super political.
Yeah.
And we do look at it in certain respects, and we do recognize it in certain respects, and then sometimes it just smacks us in the face that we forget. They care about the politics of their bosses, the politics of their clerks, the politics of what phone calls they're, fielding, all that. And we don't think about it affecting how they're going to behave, but it does. Over and over we see it,
I think one advantage that we've really got that maybe no other generation have is they have got, collectively, politically, they have got to be shaking in their boots. I mean, we've had 2008 crumble, and then Occupy Wall Street came along, and now groups like us are coming up. Live streaming cameras are getting everywhere. The FBI is surrounding a place in Oregon, 4 people, and that is being live streamed with 65,000 people listening. This is all political stuff, and these judges know.
Is there a judicial watch?
Judicial
Is there
watch?
a judicial watch yet? Judicialwatch.com?
Not that I know of, but that's pretty much what I do, just because there's not enough cop watching to do. But
Judgewatch.com.
Completely, but they don't allow cameras in. That's probably why.
I'm with JudgeWatch.com. I'm calling. We'll be there Tuesday.
Yeah, dude, that would
might be a little bit more effective than MarkStevens.net.
Yeah, people are dying to tell their stories. They'll die to call. They'll die to listen. Because they don't think they can talk to a judge like this. This kind of roller coaster happens. Telling you this. Look. Okay, my own YouTube channel. All my little commentary videos, stump post preaching, pointing to other people smarter than me, they get some. You know what's gotten 4 or 5 times the attention? And I didn't even know this because I just started posting these recently. Are the little commentaries I do that say, oh, here's a live courtroom hearing, pause, comment, unpause, pause, comment. Those things are in the hundreds when everything else was just double digits for months. So I don't know how that's happening. I'm not promoting it. People are just naturally listening to that more because they're hearing somebody think and talk to a judge in a way they didn't think was possible. So yeah, my vote is big time yes, Judicial Watch.
I was a little surprised though, because you posted a thing on Cop Watch.
I'm registering it. I'm trying to do it now.
Cool. The big one is Cop Block. If someone went Judge Block,
or Cop Block, I mean.
Cop Block is the big nationwide one.
You're right. I'm mistaken about what I was thinking. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Moors when they go into court? When like a Moor goes into court?
Yeah, I've watched those on YouTube. They're very similar to us.
Correct. They just use. I mean, they try to claim that they're under a different jurisdiction or they're sovereign or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the same. It's pretty much the same print. Like, you guys don't have any evidence that your shit applies to me. I mean, it's basically the same shit.
Right. Even though I don't agree, obviously, with everything that comes out of their mouth, I really like their commitment to professional speak at all times.
Yes.
They are second to nobody on that, even us. They're very disciplined. I admire that. The first 3 that you asked, the softball ones, why do you ask those at all?
Why do I?
Yeah.
Well, the idea is that, again, they're setup questions so that you can refer back to them when he tries to shut you down and say,
to get some agreement.
You know what? I'm not here to answer your questions, right? So it is, right? Jose's right, to get some agreement.
The softballs help them get in the mood of answering as well. And it gets them, on that path.
Correct. So if he's interrupting you left and right and you can't get the word out, and then he's claiming that you didn't make your point well enough when he interrupted you midway through it, then reference back to the fact that, he just admitted that you are entitled to a fair and meaningful hearing. Am I entitled to finish a statement before you judge the relevance of it? Yes or no? Is that part of a fair hearing? Yes or no? I mean, I hear him interrupting you and going down his path and saying that, accusing you of circular logic, all this, that, and the other. We kind of have spent time on his path. And when this tree is a seed, man, we need to grow in our direction. And that's one way we, that's why we ask softball questions, for me anyway. Can I get that admission so that if he screws with me in the future, I can point back to the fact that he already admitted I'm entitled to this fair hearing? Can I at least finish a sentence before it's judged as relevant? Yes or no? That's just pointing to the gun in the room. It's pointing to the bully, the violence, coercion. That's all.
And every time if you get cut off a whole bunch, maybe just bring it back to, I'm sorry, am I speaking so quietly that you can't hear me trying to say a sentence?
Bingo.
You just bring the topic up innocently.
Yeah, that's a better way if you are going down the let's get along path and let's blame the prosecutor path. That's great.
Well, it's a good non-adversarial way of bringing up the point that you're not getting your word in.
Yeah. Yep.
So, what are the 10 questions?
Well, that's a good question. I've always, is what you do is when you hear a guy on this chat say a good question, a good softball, right? We rate these questions as like a softball, a medium ball, and then a hard ball, the meat of where we really want to be, right? Which most of the time has the prosecutor presented sufficient evidence that the code or laws are applicable to me to give this court jurisdiction.
Any evidence.
Okay, yep. Any is actually
zero.
Right?
Zero gets away from that subjective kind of thing.
Yeah, And you know what? That's a great point. And with the Gary 101, I can kind of just hear it in my mind, right? Go ahead and explain why it's because Robbie's new, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Gary, you want to? I mean, just on the any evidence compared to sufficient evidence.
Right. Right, because it's baby steps, right? We're trying to get little bitty confessions out of them to paying for you having slipped and fallen. Suddenly they don't own it then. They only own it when they want to punish somebody. When there's any responsibility, suddenly they don't. It's it's that kind of thing. They're playing games.
But we're here protecting the public. That's what we're doing. That's why we have these rules, because we're protecting the public from possible terrorists.
I don't know what that. Again, that sentence is meaningless, and that's the point. Is that it's meaningless.
That's true, but that doesn't necessarily mean they won't use it.
Based on what?
Oh, certainly. All time. Well, I mean, because what do they mean by the public? Can they list some people? Can you give me a list of the public?
Yep.
Is it all the people of a certain age in a certain area? What the hell are you talking about, the public?
Every word in there.
Is it all leaks? Right. So you're protecting some undefined group of people, and you can't even point at. Can you point at one of them that you know for sure is one of these the public? Is your boss one of them? Is your boss one of them? How about this? Is your boss one of these the people? Oh, he is. So your boss is one of the people that is included on the what do you call it? The injured or whatever. The accusers or whatever they're kind of saying that involves stuff.
The reason why
corpus delicti.
Yeah.
Right. So Judgy, are you one of the people that you're referring to?
That are driving the ethics.
Okay, that sounds good for conversation here, but I mean, how is he going to do this in court? I've been really interested
by internalizing the concept. By internalizing the concept and asking for clarification.
Okay, what would be a good clarifying question on that one?
Okay, so what was the assertion that
we have
the non sequitur of they have jurisdiction because you were in the building, right?
Correct, and you knew the rules and you didn't follow them, and therefore you knew the punishment that could be meted out to you.
Okay.
Here it is.
Okay. So is part of what I'm accused of that I'm accused of knowing exactly what rules govern this thing and what rules govern how I was supposed to walk through this building or that building?
What do you think, Bobby?
How it was supposed to.
So, yeah, it sounds like...
That's a good clarifying question, right?
Well,
is that what they're accusing you of? That's what he just said.
I guess I might ask them, are all of the Oregon statutes listed on the side of the airport before you walk in?
No, that's not relevant.
We're talking
because you involved all kinds of irrelevant crap, right?
Oh, by the way, have they listed a statute that you're supposedly in violation of that they're punishing you under?
Yeah, it's an Oregon statute.
Are they saying that you had been informed of this before the accusation came up?
No, not as far as I know.
Okay, so to be clear, they're saying that this code applied because you voluntarily stayed in the building or entered the building, knowing that it would be applied? Is that what they're accusing?
They haven't accused me of that, but the other guy.
That's what I'm trying to get cleared up.
Yep.
That's what I'm trying. We're discussing questions that need clarification, not trying to get you to clarify them. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
We're discussing potential questions that would lead to embarrassing situations for them, because they just said some hogwash, and we're discussing questions that point out that the questions that they're asking are stupid, or the things that they're asserting are stupid, I should say. I'm sorry. So they're asserting nonsense in saying that you agreed to abide by this Utah statute or whatever it was by entering the building.
Oregon.
Or you don't have to agree. You walked on the property.
Oh, but what are they accusing you of then? Are they saying they're saying that you walked onto the property, thus it applies?
Pretty much.
Okay. So by walking onto the property, something happened that made this apply. Is that what you're saying? Correct?
That would be a good clarification to get, because there's a line.
Yeah.
There's a border somewhere. Where the fuck is that? And then where's evidence of each side?
And try to get to the point of what they're trying to describe. They're being vague about what it is that happened. And then a miracle occurred, and the code applied.
Yeah.
We're trying to pin it down to describing that miracle. Did some angel come down and blow a fucking horn up your ass? What? You know?
Was it a trumpet or a horn?
Yeah. Right?
Cornet.
I wasn't going to talk about
It was a rusty trump.
Rusty Trump.
That's horrible. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Hey, at least it wasn't a pan flute, huh?
Right.
Oh,
So,
God.
but you get my point, is that we're programmed not to see the absurdity in the statement, right? And I know I'm pretty grizzled, and I've been at this for a long time. So to me, it's instantly right there in the middle of the room. But I understand how people have a lot of trouble. It's a big pile of shit in the middle of the room, and everybody's like, I don't know what the problem is. It's a big pile of shit in the middle of the room. That magic.
It's fly farm.
Yeah. Voodoo.
It's that magic. It's that magic of A, and then magic, and then laws apply.
Oh.
And they never want to talk about the magic. They just want you to know that there's magic, right? That there's that A, and we'll prove A,
Right.
and then we'll prove what happens because the law applies. We'll talk about that. And it's like, wait a minute. What is the magic thing that happened when I entered the building that made the laws apply? Tell me about that.
There's a border. If they're claiming one,
How can you put that in legalese?
question their claim.
How would you put that into language that they would be inclined to answer?
Okay. So you're saying that the laws apply because of my entry into the building. Is that correct?
Well, of course, yes.
Would this law apply if I hadn't entered the building?
Well, no.
Great. So, would it apply if I had entered the building? If somebody had made me enter the building, would this law apply?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so it's not about my choice to enter the building or not. It's just my physical entry into the building that causes, through some mechanism, this law to apply. Correct?
Correct.
All right. Are you capable of describing the thing that occurs at the moment that the law becomes applicable?
Well, yes, you entered the building knowing that of the expected actions that
No. You just got done saying that my willfulness doesn't matter.
Okay, you
So
entered
you've already
the building.
said-
Okay, so yes, because if you were forced to come in there and you started violently reacting, that would be because of the initial forcing you into the building, not because you were in the building, but because you were anywhere.
Okay, so now you're backing off and you were
No, I'm
incorrect
just
when you said
talking.
that
I'm
you
not
entered the
talking.
building.
Yeah, I'm not talking as a judge right now. I'm just.
Okay.
The judge
Fine.
apparently says you entered the building. It's the line at the door, or property line, or
Right,
That's what I'm attacking.
yeah.
Oh, so the willfulness thing has to come into it then. You
No, I don't know.
or willingly
Okay,
enter
maybe.
the building.
Maybe he'll bring in willfulness. Maybe he won't. I'm trying to flush out what are the elements of this magic thing that happened,
Right. If they have a
and
sign.
letting him define it.
Yeah.
Now here's a trap. Here's another trick. When he finally makes a whole bunch of assertions about when it applied, I would then ask, incidentally, Judge, all this stuff that you got from the prosecutor about these details, Why didn't I get a copy of them? Why am I just now hearing about them?
Yeah.
Well, because you haven't even been arraigned yet. We don't have to
No,
send
no,
you
no.
until you're arraigned.
You're missing it. No, you're missing them. This judge magically knows all these details about the prosecutor's case that aren't in the file.
How do
He
you
just
know
got
they're
done
not in
telling
the
you.
file? Have you seen the file?
Yeah, I hope you will have. But you could ask them, is all this information that you just gave me in the file? Or did you get it from somewhere else?
Was it just
All this stuff
submitting?
about me willingly entering the building and all this kind of stuff? Did you get that from the prosecutor, or are you just kind of speculating?
I was speculating because you were in the building and then nobody saw reported anybody holding a gun to you.
Okay, Mr. Judge, you just speculated about the cause and nature of the proceedings against me and about one of my stuff. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, I'm just basing it on previous cases that have come before me, and people have often brought this.
I'm sorry. You're telling me the cause and nature of the proceedings, guessing based upon other accusations that the prosecutors made. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, yeah. Well, it's normal criminal activity that I've observed in this case.
I agree that there's some criminal activity involved here.
Yeah, just Google logical fallacies, Robbie, if you're not familiar.
Right.
Oh, I got a whole app for that.
Yeah.
But my point is the judge is basically trying to get you to shut up, right? The judge is basically trying to make the questions go away. As long as he's taking information that the prosecutor gave him in his accusation, that's all good and dandy. He's just giving you information. The problem is, he should be giving you information that you already have. He's supposed to have stated his case and given you a copy right off the bat. And if he's starting to talk about things that he knows that you don't and no one else knows, the only place you can get it is from the golf course.
All right, so
It
Gary,
means that the prosecutor are talking or something.
Okay, so when Robbie walks into court tomorrow, or whenever, he has every expectation of being handed a piece of paper with all the charges and the evidence and everything on it, right?
Correct. You should.
Do you think that'll happen, Robbie?
No.
I have no
Robbie.
idea. I'm wondering, like, how do I get that? I'm wondering, do I just walk up to the prosecutor?
Well,
and say,
in theory, they can feed it to you. They can give it to you as you're asking for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The question that I had isn't, was it in the, again, it came down to, was it in the file? But I know the judge tends to go off on and kind of make up answers to make you shut up. Right? Because he doesn't want to turn to the prosecutor and say, hey, could you get him what he needs? He doesn't want to do that. He wants you to shut the hell up and move on. But as he's giving you this information about, you're accused of entering the building willingly and blah, 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 blah. Wait, did the prosecutor accuse me of that, or are you accusing me of that?
Don't let him wear both
you gotta
hats.
make sure. Are you practicing law from the bench there, Judge?
No. It's not about practicing law from the bench. Let me back that one up. It's about adding to the prosecutor's case without the prosecutor doing so. The judge helping him dot the I's and cross the T's.
Yeah. So anytime you ask about jurisdiction, you've got to bring the prosecutor into it. Has the prosecutor provided any evidence of?
Well, you can always try to go that route for sure. If you can return it back to there, great.
Does that make sense, Gary?
I'm sorry, could you repeat yourself?
Anytime you ask for evidence of anything to do with the case, you've got to bring the prosecutor in, because, as we all know, the judge is a mere referee to ensure the smooth flowing of justice. So anytime you have anytime you have any questions as to evidence presented or whatever, you've got to address it to the judge about the prosecution.
yes, what has the prosecutor told you about blah, blah, blah? Not, what is whatever.
Now, if the prosecutor begins to speak, which seems like it's relatively rare, but if they do, then can I cross-examine them?
If he testifies. But it doesn't matter. He's probably not going to testify. You see, if he offers his own experience instead of saying, I have somebody who's told me this or that, or if he gives you just legal opinions and, that sort of thing, that's fine. But if he goes on to, if he says you are, you were wearing a red hat instead of someone observed you wearing a red hat, then you could say, okay, am I going to be able to cross-examine him for his testimony? But that's advanced stuff. Let's not worry about that too much.
Right. So the key is to always bring it to the question of jurisdiction, and then, since there is none, to be constantly trying to motion to dismiss.
Well, you're making it more and more clear.
More like a move to dismiss big picture, though. That takes time. Did you just try and paint a big picture, or did I mishear something?
Well, I assume that you can verbally motion to dismiss since there is no evidence of jurisdiction at the time.
Okay, can you move to dismiss?
Yeah, he can. Oh, you mean you want him to do that, huh?
Because a motion is a word with a definition.
So move to dismiss then.
If you say the word
if
you say the word motion, he's going to say, "Oh yeah, no problem. We're going to have a motions hearing. You just write that up next time." I'll give you another,
So you just say, I move the court dismiss this for lack of prosecution and lack of case and lack of jurisdiction, huh?
No, that's not what I do.
For failure to prosecute?
Yeah,
there you go.
If I ever make a move like that, I make sure that first I take a deep breath, I know exactly what I'm going to say, and that it's going to come out like ice. Because this is an exclamation point to your entire mojo here. And you want to make it sound sharp, slick, smart, and convincing for the people watching. So this is not a statement that you want to be stumbling through, for sure. I move to dismiss based on this violation of ethics calling out actual reality. Shazam. And if he's going to deny it, yeah, of course he is. On what grounds? Make sure you get some grounds. Oh, and then you can start questioning the grounds. Just Socrates, Hopefully.
Well, and
of course,
again,
you probably get cut off and shit.
When he denies it, which a knee-jerk reaction is always going to be to deny it,
yeah,
it doesn't make the point go away.
Exactly.
Your point is
yeah.
There's been a failure to prosecute, and I motion to dismiss because that's what should be done when there's a failure to prosecute. And if he says, I deny your motion, okay, are there grounds, or is it just because you don't like that outcome?
And if he does offer you grounds, isolate the grounds, and then question the hell out of it so that he can't jump to some other grounds.
It's like, wait a
minute, sir. Let me write that down.
So you're denying this based upon the fact that you know that there is evidence of jurisdiction, despite our searches here. You personally have your personal knowledge of evidence of jurisdiction that has been withheld from me so far. Now that's a little combative, but something that's the attitude, maybe not the words.
Another thing you can do is when they're making a point or they say anything, you can say, "Oh, hold on just a second. I need to write that down," and that'll give you while you're writing, you can still be thinking, right?
They try to make things move very, very, very fast. They want to play a game of speed chess, and they don't want to let you think about moves because they already know their moves. They play the same exact game every day, all day.
That's all they do.
That's all they do.
Money collectors. Shame, humiliation.
Right.
Rah, 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 rah.
Right. And you know, they know they're going to cheat, so they just want to kind of get through the game quickly. But you can, hey, objection, point of clarification, and then just start, going through your notes. And if they say, what's your problem? You say, hold on just a moment, I'm reviewing something here, trying to collect my question. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And they might say, you don't have time for this. Great. You don't have time to prosecute me. There's nothing I'd rather hear.
I've used that exact tactic specifically because I remembered Gary mentioning it, and they were trying to rush me through. I literally had handcuffs on, and I, had said, I just need a minute to collect my thoughts.
No.
And they gave me about, 20 seconds, and I took about 15, whatever, and went on with it. So don't be afraid to slow it down is the point.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to do that at all. And they will, most times, if you're, they can't be seen as so abusive, they won't give you time to collect your thoughts, right?
And they might ridicule you while you're trying to collect your thoughts.
Yep. People snickering, laughing.
And ridicule, and they might ridicule, they will do things against you that, like, the lawyers sitting around that they would never dream of doing. They would expect to be found in contempt to do against the lawyer.
Yes.
They will snicker at you. They will exclaim out loud. They know they can get away with it because they know the judge wants that to happen.
Now, if a person who is in the audience or whatever, like an attorney who might snicker or even say something out loud, like, can I not address the fact that a person is speaking outside of
Why? To what goal?
Why? Yeah.
To make it stop, I guess. I don't know.
To what goal?
Well, yeah.
Because it is distracting. It does distract, I guess.
It's even more distracting for you to try to stop the distraction. Take your lumps.
And
you have precious little time to get in any questions, by the way.
Not all of the changes that you're going to make to your thinking are going to be the words that we're telling you. Some of them are going to have to be challenges to your own ego that go, how dare they laugh or say something from the crowd. That shit has to be like water on a duck's back, because that's the least of your problems.
Oh my God. The things you have to worry about are being thrown in jail for a month.
Right.
The snickering guy behind you shouldn't even make the radar.
But I know what you mean.
Yeah. Because it plays upon, it gets people flustered, and they know it, and they like it.
Right. Dude,
but here's the thing: when the court jester starts his jokes, it's because he knows his job came up. He knows his job is to make fun of and stop people from being disobedient. His job is to keep people off guard, and if he's doing it, it means you hit on something.
Psychological.
If you're really doing something wrong, if you're doing something, if you were to start telling the judge that you think he's an idiot, well, for one, you wouldn't get very far with it at all. But if you backed it off from that a little ways, that judge would start feigning anger rather than ridicule.
Okay.
And if you're confused and trying to make sense of information that was vague, they got two tactics: try to screw you up even more, or try to look like they're trying to help you. And they'll do some combination of those things. But the ridicule, that means you're doing something probably that strikes at the heart of their religion.
Yeah. I can give you a personal story from like a month and a half ago. Like, I had not a public defender, not a court-appointed attorney, but the third try at me was a private attorney that they were just paying, I don't know what for, to come in and try and get on my case. And I was at this hearing. I had to get rid of him. I did. But during my speaking, he laughed on cue twice, right? Because the judge was a sneaky, crafty guy trying to make it look like I was the unreasonable one, right? And I heard it a third time and I thought it was from behind me. I turned around to literally verbally on the record lash out at somebody and realized it was a friend of mine who was laughing at them, not at me. But don't be afraid to... Don't get distracted by that stuff, and don't be afraid to slow things down and just keep it at your pace. With you specifically, listening to you, it might be a good idea, this is kind of really where I'm going with all this, to collect the sentence first in your head, say it to yourself, then have it come out of your mouth, and put a damn period on the end of it. Don't keep going searching.
Yeah. Well, here's the other part. That brings up a good point with the period and the question mark.
Yeah.
Question mark. I was trying to cover.
Or yeah, question mark. Yeah, end of the sentence, punctuation.
Yeah. Hey, well, here, and you, by saying period, did a good favor. The difference between a question and a sentence is not whether or not you go up at the end.
Right.
A sentence has who, what, when, where, why, how type of thing in it. You don't just say, you said, blah, blah, blah. That's not a question. Sarcasm does not come across in a court record at all.
Unfortunately.
You do not want to say, I did it, or anything stupid like that. Oh, that's how you get jurisdiction? That's not a question. That is a confession.
Oh, you got me. Red-handed. You got me. That ticket must be jurisdiction. You got me red-handed.
I hear it. I hear it in recordings of people in court. I hear it it kills me when you're like, did you just say that? The fact that you went up at the end does not make it a question. On the transcript, it says, I was at that intersection, period.
Yeah.
You know?
You can add yes or no at the end and hopefully turn it into one. But that's not really as crafted well as it could be, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. If you catch yourself, it's like, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That actually reminds me of a question that I had regarding the court transcript and the record, the official record.
Yeah. Okay, hold up. There's two different things you could mean by a record, and I want to clear up which one you mean. Okay, the record, in one sense, is everything that actually occurs. All the discourse, the conversation, the whole event, that's the record. That's the negotiations, or whatever you want to call it. The other thing that it can refer to is what they write down, which can sometimes coincide with reality and sometimes be a complete fiction. So which one are you talking about?
Yeah, that was my question. Is
okay.
One. I was actually thinking of a question to ask them concerning the record. Are there, like, I wanted to ask something like, will everything that is said during this hearing be on the official court record?
What the fuck is an official court record? Hold up. You're adding words that don't add to what you're trying to say. Okay. So there's the record, and then there's the recording, right?
Sorry, every time you drop an F-bomb, it makes me giggle, because that's only like the fourth or fifth time I've ever heard you do it. It always cracks me up. Go ahead.
Okay. I didn't even realize I dropped one. Anyways. So for the record, there is no such thing in the world as off the record, by the way. If anybody says to you, hey, this is off the record, they're fucking delusional.
That's Law and Order bullshit TV crap,
right,
dude.
Right. That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
There is no, hey, buddy, let's off the record. Let's go.
We're at the bar having a drink. That's off the record.
There's such thing as off the record. Yeah. Oh, this is on the record. Let's not talk about that.
Oh, but it's off the record, so now I will. Okay, only if it's off the record.
Only if it's off the record. Okay. So, and then if the recording or the record, their transcript or their rendition of what happened doesn't coincide with reality, it's not a record anymore. It's just a fantasy fiction. It is a fictional account of what might have happened in another hypothetical. So if they lose the word not, if they accidentally don't include the word don't or include an extra word of guilty or whatever, which we've seen, by the way, you've got to be very careful about your I do not, blah, 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 or, because they like to mistranscribe you, and it benefits them, and you're screwed when they do it. It's very, very difficult to get that corrected. So clarity is very, very important in what you're trying to say. And reiterating and repeating yourself and getting confirmation is always very good. But it makes no sense for you to say, well, are you keeping a record of this? Or it's on the record? Because it's not on the record. I don't want to participate. You don't want to participate anyways. You're not there because you want to participate. You want to go home and be left in peace, right?
Yeah.
But I have in fact been there, and I said, "Is this a court record?" They'd be like, "No." I was like, "Well, I don't see much benefit in being, in us going through anything if it's not on, if this isn't a court record." Still there, Rob?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Gary's out for now. Yeah, we can hear you. He was just trying to clarify the record, right? So there's a double meaning for it. If you don't know that, and if you think there's only one meaning, and the judge says it, you're going to act as if that's the only meaning that exists in the universe. But there's a double meaning. So that's a tiny example of him going, oh, what's on the record or what's off the record. He just wants to make sure it's clarified in your head. So if they try to manipulate you, you'll see it coming.
Okay.
His call was getting slightly choppy, as if some signal was kind of... Oh, there it is. How dare you? Oh, cool. Well, then, did you hear what I said about record? And clarify if I was off, if you heard it.
No. I was trying to reconnect at that point. Say it again.
Oh, well, that was the last thing when you cut out. I was just kind of trying to summarize what you were saying after you cut out about the difference in the meaning of what he's saying when he says record, because there's on, off, BS. Good. Like a summary.
That's all cool. So, I'm sorry, did we kind of satisfy all your questions on that?
Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah. Well, I just my concern was that possibly things could be said that wouldn't be placed on the
into the recording or the transcript.
Right.
Yeah, certainly. That's certainly a cause for concern, and nothing you can do about it. Other than keeping your own notes, of course, which is very, very powerful. And if you keep a quote of, for one, if you've written down your questions, okay, here's a suggestion. Write down your questions, right? And when you ask one of them, circle the number beside it, or whatever. If they answer it yes, give it a check. If they answer it no, give it an X. If you decide to move on from the question because you don't feel like asking it or decide otherwise, draw a line through it,
Okay.
And read it the same way. If they give you a spiel, it might be because you read it good, you read it well, and they didn't like that. And they're hoping that you'll screw it up a little bit when you say it again. Sometimes when you say something really pointed and damning, they'll be like, I'm sorry, can you say it again? Hoping that you'll say it differently and screw it up. They're vicious little bastards like that. I like having it written down so that I can read it verbatim the same.
Yep.
If I phrased it good, I'm going to stick with that.
Mm-hmm.
And don't let a psychological ploy put pressure on you to make you feel like you have to open your mouth and speak when you don't, especially when you're saying a word that you do not clearly understand what you're saying, comprehend what you're saying, as we've demonstrated here today, how important it is. Don't use a word unless you know it. That's the lawyer's rule too, right? Like, they don't even want to ask a question unless they already know the answer.
How about this one? How do you counter their maneuver of, I have no idea what you're trying to ask? I don't understand the question. Do you understand the question? No, he doesn't understand the question either.
Yeah.
The witness doesn't understand the question either. Hell, nobody understands the question you just asked. What do you do?
Why are you playing dumb?
Right. Well, you don't want to be that direct, but kind of imply it a little bit. It's like, well, okay, which word were you having trouble with there, fourth grader?
Yeah, should I get a Black's Law dictionary up there for you?
Not even Black's Law. I mean, we're talking about hopefully more simple questions than that, right? Oh. Has the prosecutor, that guy there, given you any evidence, things of jurisdiction?
Yeah.
Which word was giving you trouble? Because they'll act dumb if they don't feel like answering it.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking cops on the stand become. I mean, they drop half of their 60 IQ points right then and there, right?
Yeah. Don't even think of it as a judge. Think of it as like a weakest link identifier. Like they're gonna try and find like what they bring up. If they're talking, they're trying to address what they feel is your most vulnerable link.
To get you to move on to something else. Okay, here's a hypothetical. If you asked him, has the prosecutor provided any evidence, blah, 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 and he says, what's your next question? Okay, well, if he says no, my next question is, hey, do you validate parking? I want to leave. Right? Your next question is, where's the door?
Yeah.
Kind of depends on the answer to this question, doesn't it? The next question is not just from a list of questions. The next question is a development in the discussion
of the investigation.
If he said, if the answer to this question is, you're right, we don't have any jurisdiction, that raises a
clear reason to move to dismiss.
That sounds good.
I don't even know how this is all hitting you, Robbie, because I'm sure parts of this were what you expected and parts were not what you expected, and I'd really like to hear your opinion as far as your just impression, and you can just motherfucking cut to the chase. There's,
All right, yeah, it's been very good. Just listening. Because
yeah, the problem is to be kind of adept at this. You need to be at this for a bit longer than an evening. It's awfully rough to have you go in and face somebody who's been doing this for years.
Yeah.
It's kind of like having somebody who just got shown how to play chess go up against someone who really knows how to play chess.
Here's a CPU on level 7. Good luck.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm hoping some of my acting abilities will help. But
put them to use on confidence.
The one very useful acting is bewilderment. Why are you? I'm just trying to get at some information here. Why are you so resistant to me asking the prosecutor details? Bewilderment, Oh, the evidence is on the ticket? Great. I read over this and I've missed it all this time. Are you sure I have the same copy as you? Because mine, I've not been able to find it. Could you point me to the evidence that you're referring to that's on?
Yeah. Is this a complete accounting of everything submitted pertaining to jurisdiction?
Yeah. Is this all you're working off of? And you say you found you're so sure you have jurisdiction based upon this? Are you sure you have the same paperwork I do? You're sure that the prosecutor didn't slip a little extra into yours that he's keeping from me?
Oh, wait. Oh, so you're saying in this court the jurisdiction's on the ticket? Like that's completely batshit crazy right from the jump.
And it is. They know it. That's the thing. They know that there's no evidence on a ticket.
Yeah.
It's just the allegation.
Yeah.